Welcome back. We are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's Lewis.
Hello.
And what we're going to be talking about today is some of the lost hits of the 80s. These are songs that might have been popular at the time that they came out, but for whatever reason, you never tend to hear these songs today. So Lewis and I made independent lists. We discussed who we're going to be on them, and we put a link into the description of this video. So if there's anything you hear us talking about and you want to go check it out for yourself, please click on it, and hopefully we'll have you discover some music that you loved or and forgotten about, or maybe never even heard. So I'm gonna shoot it over to Lou. Lou, what do you got for me? What's your first pick?
All right. So my first pick is a keyboard player that started out by actually trying to record an album with his band. And apparently they were in an adjoining studio that one of my favorite bands, Rainbow, was also playing in. And Richie Blackmore of Rainbow heard the keyboard player of this other band in this other studio. And he's all like, I need to have that guy in my band. So he brought over this guy, and this guy's name is Tony Carey. So Tony Carey, he went ahead and played keyboards on Epic album. Actually, I've got it right here, Rainbow Rising, and that's a little bit of glare. And my favorite song on it is Stargazer, absolutely epic. But it's getting a little bit off track. So he played on this album, played on another album, a live album. And for whatever reason, he decided he didn't want to play with Rainbow anymore. And he took off on his own. So I did a little bit of research on this guy and found that he was actually born in Watsonville, California. And I had no idea. And he is definitely a notable mention for somebody that's written lost hits of the 80s. I found 4 of them, actually. I'm going to focus on one. But the first time that I heard him do anything that was outside of Rainbow, it was a tune called Fine, Fine Day. And that was on this Lost 45 CD that, John, you got me because of another song that's on here, which I won't mention because I'm sure it's going to be coming up a little bit later on our list. But so I discovered Tony Carey's solo stuff off of here. And then again, I did some research recently, and I found out that he had another tune, it was called Static, that I'd never heard of, that reached 24 on the charts. He had a tune under a pseudonym called Planet P, which is called Why Me. That one hit 64 on the charts. And the one that I want to talk about that I recently found out about because somebody posted it up in a group on Facebook, my friend Dave Friedman. It's called I Won't Be Home Tonight. And that one actually reached 24 in the charts. I'd completely forgotten about this song until Dave posted it up, and I listened to it. It's like, oh my God, it was one of those moments where just, the moments just rush back to you. And it's like, man, I haven't heard this thing in eons. And, that feeling.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was absolutely amazing and really, really cool tune, really catchy. And yeah, so I'm sorry, I sort of rambled on a little bit about Tony Carey. Had to mention my boy, a local boy from the Bay Area, and very excited to mention that song.
I don't remember that song, so I'm gonna have to check it out myself. And for some reason, I always assumed he was British. I don't know
I
why.
did as well. I did as well, and apparently he spent a lot of his time in Europe doing recording. But he was raised out here in Watsonville.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go with another local, at least Bay Area band. I don't know exactly where they're from, but back in the '80s, there was a movie theater in Foster City, and I think it only had 2 screens, and it wasn't very successful. So eventually, they kind of try to revamp it and do it as a discount movie theater. And if I remember correctly, it was like $1.50 to see a double feature. So I would go. I mean, as a teenager, what else was I gonna do? So I would go see a lot of crappy movies that played at this Foster City location. I don't even know. I don't even remember the name of the theater now. And I went and saw this movie, and it was one of the worst pieces of shit I have ever seen in my life. And the movie was called Megaforce. And as god awful as the movie was, it had a title track theme song called also Megaforce by a band called 707. And how this song wasn't huge, I'll never know. I remember playing it for you, and you didn't remember it, but you certainly enjoyed it. Far better than that movie deserved. It should have been on a Rocky soundtrack where it would have gotten the promotion it certainly deserved, but definitely one of those lost hits you need to check out.
Very, very cool. I recently heard that tune. I want to say it was in a commercial somewhere, which again, it was sort of a coincidence because you just, I want to say within the last, what, 4 months or something turned me onto that tune, maybe 5 months. And I heard it on a commercial. I wish I could remember what it was. I did not know that those guys are local.
I want to say they were like out near like Vallejo somewhere, Santa Rosa kind of thing. But yeah, so they were local boys and a fantastic song.
Very, very cool. Yes, it just reeks 80s and it is a great, great tune.
That's what we're all about.
Absolutely. All right, so my next pick is again off of a CD that you purchased for me, and it was one of those CDs that sort of sat in cellophane. And anybody that knows me, I've got a habit of buying CDs and just really just having them and not listening to them for a while. Whatever reason, I decided to crack the cellophane on this one and started listening through a bunch of the songs. It was the greatest hits of Survivor, and found some absolute gold on there. And but one of the ones that just really stuck with me that I just started listening to over and over is a tune called Poor Man's Son. And
That was your first
absolutely,
hit.
oh man, absolutely awesome tune. And I'd completely forgotten about it. So yeah, I had that one on my iPod just playing over and over and over until I became sick of it. But I think I'm back. I'm ready to go back again.
And another excellent choice. They have a few that you don't hear anymore. We're in the Rocky soundtracks. I'm gonna go to Canada for my next one. Sorry, I'm old, so I have to write this stuff down. Triumph. Triumph was an amazing band. Sadly, I never saw them live. I wish I had. Rick Emmett, phenomenal guitar player, great singer, great songwriter. They had some hits, but the one song you never hear from them, and it was a hit at the time, was Somebody's Out There. And a little are on the more poppy side than what they usually did, but still, it's one of those songs that's absolutely fantastic, incredibly catchy, and I could listen to it all day. So that would be one of my picks. You never hear that song anymore, and I really wish you would. So I'm gonna have to go with Triumph for my second pick.
Excellent, man. I'm going to dovetail off of Triumph. This actually wasn't a song on my list, but it is one that I know that doesn't get a lot of radio airplay. Not really one of my favorite songs of theirs because it's not the normal singer that sings on it. And I think that you told me that it reminded you of a video game, at least the beginning of it, Tears in the Rain. And that's one that you don't hear very, very often. Again, it doesn't have the regular singer. I can't remember the guy's name. Um, I don't know if you remember John, the normal singer, the one that's
For
for Triumph, the one that sang in most of the
Rick
hits.
Emmett.
There you go.
So probably then it's got to be Gilmore, who is the drummer.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember you telling me that before. That's one that you don't hear too frequently. It was catchy at the time. I remember hearing it before, but you don't hear that very much anymore.
No, I can't remember the last time I heard it, but that's definitely a good one. But I'll still stick with my choice.
Oh yeah, anything that Emmett sang was just gold. Absolutely great mention. Great band.
So, are you taking Triumph for your next pick, or
I
was that
can
just
I
an
can
honorable mention?
I can do the honorable mention. I've got another one ready to go here.
Hear it.
All right, so I'm gonna go with Bon Jovi, and granted has tons and tons of very popular hits, Dead or Alive, and even stuff that he put out in the 90s. But going back to, I think it was his first album, there were actually 3 hits on that album, and the largest one I think was
Drum roll, please.
Runaway. Okay, and
Yes.
that's one of my favorite songs. That's actually the reason that I bought this CD. So, but there are two other hidden gems on here. There is, I'm not going to mention that one yet. She Don't Know Me, right? And that's one that you don't hear very often. But the other one, the other one that I want to mention that I want to focus on is Breakout. And that again is one that you very, very rarely hear. But if you hear it, I'm sure that you'll go, oh man, I'd forgotten about that one. Yes, I remember that one. Love the keyboard stabs in that. Just great, great. Again, that just overflowing with 80s love.
So that album, I actually really enjoyed that album. That was probably the only Bon Jovi album I really enjoyed. I actually saw them open for the Scorpions on that tour, their first album. And I remember, years later, my sister was going to see them, and I still had the Bon Jovi shirt from that concert. And I said to her, I said, "You need to wear this. You look like an original fan instead of one of those people, Johnny Come Latelys." And I don't know if the shirt had anything to do with it. She believed it did, but he went and sang out on the ramp at the shoreline, and he looked out and saw her shirt. At least that's her version of the event. Grabbed her hand and started singing to her, and she actually even let go of his hand, and he kept holding on to it. So she had a moment with Bon Jovi, and she credits the shirt.
I
But
had no
yeah,
idea, man. I'd never heard this.
yeah, that actually happened, and yeah, that's a great song. I need to look that up again because I probably haven't heard that in years, but that would be a fantastic pick. Um, all right, let's go for controversy here. So we're going back to Canada, and we're going to go back to a three-piece. We, of course, we're talking about Rush. Never been a big fan. I really, I admire them for what they do. They've just never really been on my radar. I like them, never saw them live. I don't even think I own a CD or an album by them. But my favorite song of theirs, and the Rush fans are going to find this absolutely sacrilegious, is Subdivisions. And I never hear that song anymore. I think that is so fantastic. Yes, it's very keyboard oriented, which is obviously very different from what they're known for. But something about that song always gets to me, and I find it incredibly beautiful, very haunting in the melody. And yeah, that's one of those ones I wish they'd bring back, and I wish you'd hear it more often because it deserves to be heard.
That's really interesting because back when it came out, it got a lot of radio airplay. I remember hearing that all the time, man, and people playing it all the time. And you're right. I can't remember the last time I've actually heard that.
No, and that's a crime. That should be played more often. But I again, it's not really their style, but it's my favorite Rush song by far.
Very cool. I've got their greatest hits, and I think that one is one of the ones that's actually still in cellophane.
Of course. So who you got? Who's next in your cellophane list?
Let's see. I'm going to go with Honeymoon Suite. And there are a couple of tunes of theirs that actually three tunes of theirs that got some radio airplay. Um, one that actually I believe you turned me on to recently, and I had on my greatest hits CD, and I never bothered listening to it. I only listened to the two songs that were on there that I recognized. Um, was called Burning in Love. And this came up when you and I, and actually Mark Kramer, we were all on Facebook, and COVID had just started, and we're just sort of exchanging back and forth, lost hits that we remember, that wanted to see if other people remembered, sort of to trigger those memories. And this was one that came up that I just caught me completely off guard. Once I started listening to it, it's like, oh man, I remember this. And again, this was
You know what? I think I have to give Mark the credit on that because I think my contribution to Honeymoon Suite was What It Takes.
oh, okay.
I don't want to take away Mark's credit, so
I thought it was Mark, but regardless, that was a
that was me,
tune
you
that
mean.
okay. But yeah, it was a tune that definitely I'd forgotten about, and very much like the Survivor and Poor Man's Son, one that I listened to over and over and over once I rediscovered it.
What were the other songs you were talking about on the CD?
Let's see, there's Feel It Again.
That was
Um,
a song. I'd say
that
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 was
was
probably their most popular.
that was, and the other one is escaping me a little bit.
Probably what it takes.
I'll have to go back and check. I didn't
All
actually pull
right.
that
It's
CD
not
out.
there in cellophane. All right.
That one's not there in cellophane.
So I don't know if this next one for me. It's one of those songs that somebody sent to me, and it was like it was a soundtrack for like a best of the '80s. I think it was music or '80s period, like a time capsule, and they used this music behind it. It was a video somebody had compiled, really great, and there was a song on it, and it's one of those songs that I remember completely from the '80s, but anytime I hear, them playing flashback songs or, anything like that, I never hear it. Maybe it's a LA thing, I don't know. Maybe you hear it more out there, but I never hear a song, and it's Boy Meets Girl with Waiting for a Star to Fall. And that's
Good choice.
that's a fantastic song, and it's just one you just never really hear. For whatever reason, I mean, yes, it's probably more popular than any of the songs that we've talked about, but I don't hear it very often. And I think it deserves to be played more. And I think it's one of the better hits of the '80s, especially for that kind of genre, the very poppy, early '80s hits.
Right, right, absolutely. That's on an '80s hits compilation that Lulu actually burned for me, and I used to listen to that all the time, going back and forth from the Bay Area to LA. And great, great song. Love that song as well.
Do you hear much up in the Bay Area when you're, yeah. So I don't
No,
know. Maybe
no,
somebody should be playing it.
it is a great, great song.
So you have one pick left, so use it wisely.
I want to play my ace, but I'm afraid that's your ace as well.
I did not include it. I think I know where you're going with it, and I purposely didn't include it because I figured you would.
All right, then I'm bringing it out. So there was a band that was called Steel Breeze back in the day, and they had this song called "You Don't Want Me Anymore," and very catchy tune. Again, very very infectious keyboard stabs and just the kind of stuff that I really really like. And I have to mention this this time that John and I were in a club. Haven't heard that phrase ever, but we were
Never.
in a club. And this is when it was in the '90s, and the whole '80s thing was sort of becoming a revival, right? I think it was in like the late '90s.
It was.
And I had befriended the DJ, and at this club, and that's what they played, was just '80s. And I had mentioned to him that, there's this great song that I really wanted to dance to. It was called "You Don't Want Me Anymore" by Steel Breezes. I'm like, oh yeah, I love that song, man. I remember like roller skating to it when I was a kid. And yeah, I'll play that for you. It was like the last night that they were doing it or something. And everybody was dancing to whatever it was that was out there before he started to play "You Don't Want Me Anymore." As soon as he started playing "You Don't Want Me Anymore," it was like the the Red Sea just parted. Everybody got off of the dance floor except for John and I. We got onto the dance floor, and I remember I was pretty. I'd had like 3 or 4 drinks. I was a few sheets to the wind. Didn't care. I just got out there and danced and had an absolute blast. And that's the only time I've ever danced to that song. It's the only time I've ever heard anybody play it at a club.
What's funny is I actually saw them. They performed at the San Mateo County Fair, and we happened to be there, me and my friend, and I think my cousin was with me, and they actually performed 2 sets, and it was the exact same set, but we enjoyed them so much the first time we went back and saw them a second time. And all I remember is, obviously that song was great, but I remember the guitar player, the lead guitar player, had a white mockingbird, and I thought it was such a cool guitar, and I desperately wanted it. And years later, I did purchase a white mockingbird. So full
Nice.
tribute to Steel Breeze. Sadly, I heard the singer passed away a few years back.
Oh, I
So,
didn't know that.
and my God, if you want to see probably one of the worst videos you've ever seen in your life, well, we're gonna have the link down there, and check it out, and you're gonna be like, "Ooh, that's pretty hard to watch." Yeah, I mean, when the girl, I think at some point throws one of the members down the bowling alley into the pins, and yeah, it's a hard watch. It was definitely early '80s, and you felt it. It's bad, but something to get a laugh out of. Honestly, I have one more, but I'm already planning a sequel to this because I was coming up with so many songs, and there's so many that I'm leaving out, and I really feel like we need to talk about more of them. So I think we'll have to do this again. We'll do some of the lost '80s hits or something, and we'll have a sequel in the future. But I got one more, and boy, I got a lot of choices. But I'm gonna go with a band that doesn't get enough love, and I'm going back to Canada again. Canada again. So this time it's not a three-piece, and the band is April Wine. And yes, they were very popular in the '80s for whatever reason. They're one of those bands you don't hear a lot. You may hear every now and then "Sign of the Gypsy Queen" and "I Like to Rock," a few of those. But there is a song that they did on their Power Play album, and the name of the song, geez, um, yeah, it's called "This Could Be the Right One," and it was kind of a faster faster ballad song. I don't know if that's even a thing, but it was, a great song, very catchy. Got a little. I remember getting airplay back in the day, and I probably haven't heard it since, at least on a radio station or something like that. And that's another one of those songs where it's like, why aren't we hearing this song? It's a fantastic song, real catchy, and one I definitely think deserves to get some more love. So that would be my last and final choice. Like I said, I talk about this one for a lot. Do you remember that song at all?
I totally do. I totally do. It was a very cool tune. It is hard to describe the genre because it's definitely rock, but it's difficult to describe. It's a very good tune, very good song.
Well, hopefully, we'll turn some people on to these songs. They can follow the links and check it out for themselves. I do recommend if you're checking out Steel Breeze, You Don't Want Me Anymore. Don't look at the screen, just listen to the music. But boy, that video is bad. It's really hard on the eyes. So of course everyone's gonna go watch that one now and laugh at it. But hey, it was the '80s. We had no budgets for videos back in those days. It wasn't until Michael Jackson came on later, and then they really improved the production values and whatnot. So yeah, those are some of the lost hits, and I think we need to go back and check some of those out. Lou, I'm guessing you probably have quite a few left on your list as well.
I've got a few and I could definitely dig up a few more.
All right. Well, how many of them are in cellophane?
That I'm going to have to go back in inventory, but I can get you that number.
I'm sure you could. Well, anything you want to add about any of these songs or any of these artists?
No, it's again, it's just to me, it's magical when you're able to hit on a song that you haven't heard in a long time. It's an indescribable feeling. As you'd mentioned, John, hopefully this has brought some songs up that people had forgotten about that they'll go and listen to and go, oh yeah, I remember that. I haven't heard that in a long time, because that's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, it is. Or just even discover it for the first time and be like, how the heck did I never know about this? This is fantastic. And every now and then I'll come across those kinds of songs and it's frustrating. It's like, that's around that decade. How did I not know about this? So hopefully people find it, they enjoy it, and if there's some you think need to be added, I have a feeling the Rush fans are going to be upset. But if there's something you think should be discussed, put it in the comments what you think we should be listening to, or maybe some of your favorite forgotten '80s songs. But Lou, if you have nothing else, I think we'll go ahead and end it here. I appreciate you coming on as always, brother. Appreciate you doing this, and for anyone that's watching this, thank you as well. We appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. And John, yeah, this is an absolute blast. They all are, but this one was really, really cool.
And take us out with peace out
Peace out.
next time.